Hello, I'm Jerry Hancock from In Balance. We have a special treat today. We're talking to Dylan, who has been through dependency and recovery. And I'm just going to turn it over to Dylan and let him sort of tell his story, and then we'll talk some more on the other side. Dylan, take it away.
Hey, yeah, Jerry, thanks for having me. My name is Dylan. I live in the Charlotte area, born and raised. Lived other places and found my way back to this area. I guess I'll kind of start early. I probably took my first drink, I don't know, maybe 12, 13, 14, somewhere in that range. I think it was middle school. Time frame. I know that it was, maybe I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, maybe peer pressure. I'm not sure what led to that initial drink, but I know I was always kind of rebellious as a kid and got into a lot of trouble. So it was just kind of one of those things, I guess. And it was something that I really enjoyed. It was a sense of breaking out of my current situation or just the normalcy. I just enjoyed being intoxicated. I don't know how to explain it. It was a getaway for me. And once I found that, of course, as a teenager, other things started falling off pretty quickly. Whether that was attendance at school or just things like that. That became a priority for me early on, for sure. Started skipping school. I had the mentality of I didn't care. I just wanted to, hang out with friends, be intoxicated, and just not deal with life, I guess. So I think that was my motivation early on, for sure. As I got into, my 20s, I think I started experimenting with, other drugs. It wasn't just alcohol. I think alcohol was always the number one for me. For sure, it was, I guess, more accepted. It was easier to get. I just liked the way it made me feel. I was a different person. I was more confident. I felt like I had some control. I'm sure there was some irony there because in reality, I don't think I was completely out of control, to say the least. But I came from a family of alcoholics and addicts, so they probably saw the signs in me pretty early. My grandmother, on my mother's side, had been in recovery for quite some time. Her husband as well. My step grandfather was too. And I think I went to my very first AA meeting when I was maybe 14 years old. So I've been around those rooms for quite some time. And for the longest time, I went so I could get them off my back, right? So I could secretly kind of continue doing what I was doing. I would say the right things just to get them off my back so I could continue to do what I wanted to do. I definitely did not take recovery serious, or I don't even think I thought that I had a problem. I thought, hey, I'm young, I'm enjoying myself. What's the big deal? But in reality, looking back, there was definitely a dependency that formed early on, for sure. When it became priority number one for me, it was, consume thoughts. It was like, I can't wait to, get out of school so I can go do this, or, I can't wait to, for the weekends, or I can go party or do whatever. That was always at the forefront of my mind. And, a younger me thought that was normal. Probably, I thought maybe the adults and folks in the family were, probably just taking it too serious, and I just wanted them off my back. So to do that, or to get them off my back, I thought, hey, all right, well, I'll go to these meetings. I'll do what they say. But I continuously got in trouble, whether it was with, with the law or with family. I broke a lot of trust early on. And then, as more and more I was around the rooms, I realized, hey, maybe I do have a problem, but still at that point, I wasn't ready to give it up. I'm a firm believer that you have to kind of hit rock bottom to make a change. And looking back, I was nowhere near rock bottom. I don't think. I was kind of a master of dealing with bad situations and being okay with it, which was strange, right? I didn't want. Maybe I wanted a better life for myself, but the motivation just wasn't there early on. So definitely continued down that path for quite some time and just kind of managed to manage. Bounced around job to job. I can't tell you how many jobs I had in the restaurant industry, waiting tables, bartending, which is a perfect job for an alcoholic, right? Constantly around it. And those folks that you work with, I mean, a lot of them were very, very similar. As soon as we get off work, let's drink till we black out almost. So keeping myself in those surroundings obviously did not help. And, it was hard to hold a job. So bounced around and, in the restaurant industry, you can get a job pretty easily. If you have the experience, it's not a hard thing to do. So continued to do that for a while. I moved down to Charleston, South Carolina for a girl. It did not work out. I think that relationship ended maybe 7-8 months in. A direct result of that addict behavior, for sure. So, once we broke up, I ended up staying down there for a little bit longer before moving back up to this area. And, once I did move back, continued to live with family and do the same stuff. And then finally got to the point where family was, sick and tired of my BS. So I got to the point where this is close to the end before I actually took recovery serious. They kicked me out. I was kind of living on my own, bouncing around on couch to couch. And, finally I just got to the point where, my God, I'm now sick of this. I just cannot do this anymore. And I think that rock bottom was fast approaching. I was, early 30s and I'm like, I'm seeing all my other friends, being successful, married, good jobs, having kids. I'm like early 30s. I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life? I know that I have so much potential. I'm not a dumb person. If I put my mind to something, I know that I can get it done. And I just wanted more for myself. So I, decided to go into a rehab here in Charlotte, the Charlotte Rescue Mission. It was a free service that is offered to folks. It was a 90-day program. So I went in there with the mindset of, all right, I finally give up. I need to go somewhere. I knew that just going to AA meetings wasn't enough at that time. I needed to be surrounded. I needed people to tell me what to do every day. I needed to listen to the counselors. I needed the direction. I was very lost at that point. But I had one thing going for me, and that was the will to get clean, to get better, to have a better life. And that finally outweighed the need to want to drink and get high all the time. I think that is so crucial for someone's recovery, is to that saying, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. That motivation has to be there, I think, for somebody to be successful. And that gift of desperation they talk about, it finally was given to me. So I did. I went to the Charlotte Rescue Mission. Did my time there. Just like I think with any rehab, there's going to be folks in there that are in there for the right reasons, and there's ones that are in there for the wrong reasons, that are in there for whatever they were told to by court or family or whatever. They're not taking it serious. And I knew that. I identified those people pretty quickly. when I joined, and I stayed away from those folks, and I found the ones that were there for the right reasons, and surrounded myself with those people and had those conversations about actually getting better, and talking about a higher power, and doing the right thing. So I made some great friends in there that I still talk to today, that are still sober and doing really well for themselves. And when I got out of there, I before I left, I started to formulate a plan. All right, what am I going to do when I get out of here? I've got, I can't go live with family. I don't want to go live with family. I need to have a plan. So I did. I left and joined a halfway house. Ended up getting a job back in the restaurant industry because it's what I knew I wanted to do, and actually worked with a brewery, a Rock Bottom Brewery in downtown Charlotte, which was, it wasn't ideal, but I still had the fortitude and the goal and the strength I don't want to drink, and I did not. I stayed sober, and lived in this halfway house for a little bit, then ended up getting my own place with a few friends who, they all still drank. I mean, it's surprising that I did not relapse at that point. I think that will to continue to stay sober was there, and I put that at the forefront of everything. And I took everything that I learned over the years and actually applied it this time, and stayed sober. Thankfully, I didn't keep that job for long. I ended up joining a company where I'm at now, where I've been for 5.5 years. But how I got that job, I started getting myself back out into the dating world, and met my now wife, which I'm glad I met after I got sober, because the old me, I don't think would still be with this person. She would not have tolerated my crap, for sure. So I think God brought her to me at the right time. But met my current business partner through her. His wife and my now wife did yoga teaching together, and we all kind of met at a concert, and then he told me, hey, I just started this business. We kind of talked briefly, but we met for lunch shortly after, and I was sold. I was ready to get out of the restaurant industry. I wanted my nights and weekends back. I wanted to be away from serving alcohol for a living, and joined the company. I got the offer and joined the company, and I've done really well. It's a sales role, and I think my time spent in the restaurant industry really kind of set me up for success for this position, and it's been great. I think that in sobriety and in recovery, that the gifts that come to you when you're doing the right thing and open yourself up, and it's indescribable, the type of gifts that you get in recovery. And I remember hearing that early on, that you get things that you didn't even dream of, or things come to you that you wouldn't even have hoped for yourself. So recovery has been really good to me. I did have a relapse about a year ago, that was not good, but I think the reason that happened is because I started to not put my sobriety first, and it was a hard lesson learned. It really tested my current relationship, and but it was a reminder from the universe and spirit that I've got to keep my sobriety number one, because if I don't, everything else that I put in front of that are going to be the things that go. And I was almost to that point, unfortunately, but was able to turn all of that stuff around. And I've got a loving support system that helped me get through that. And but it was tough. In a definite reminder that sobriety's got to be number one for the rest of my life. I mean, I'm a firm believer that it is a disease that you have to stay on top of, and that if you don't, then it can quickly come around and get you again. So, I mean, that kind of brings me to present day. I know it was a lot of talking, but yeah, I mean, sobriety is So important, so important. It's something that you absolutely have to keep at the forefront of your life. Otherwise, it can all go away. So that was the lesson I learned recently.
So, first of all, congratulations. That's a hell of a story, and I'm glad you have survived it and are now sober and aware of the importance of your sobriety. Um, I want to go back to some things you said and just get you to elaborate a little more on. Um, a lot of alcoholics have told me that before they became alcoholic, they felt like they were different from other people and that they were missing something or something was not, um, they just weren't good enough or whatever. And alcohol helped them get rid of that feeling. Was that true for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that alcohol is just a symptom of another problem. Um, I've worked with counselors and have seen some therapists, and I think there was some definite issues around myself and my father. I think there was feelings of inadequacy. There was some confidence stuff. There was um, I felt like I needed to be always seek approval. Whether it was from family or friends, and I think alcohol helped that. Um, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a symptom of something else, and it could be a symptom of multiple things. And that was definitely a big part of it for me. That there was, um, just the self-worth issue. I think was a big piece to that, and alcohol helped cover that up, or help me not deal with it, and keep it, below the surface for sure.
I've also heard people say that alcoholism is sort of a lack of spirituality or lost spirituality. Did you feel that way too?
Yeah, definitely. I'm in a completely different place now and view spirituality completely different than I did when I was younger and in the throes of addiction. I mean, it was almost non-existent there. I mean, I believed in a God, but I don't think that defines spirituality. I think spirituality is a part of who we are. I was looking at it as an external thing, like there's a God there, but I'm separate from that. There was, um, yeah, just a complete, I think, misunderstanding and just a lack of it altogether for sure.
You mentioned earlier that for a long time when people would confront you about alcohol, you would say the right things to get them off your back and just go ahead with your drinking. Uh,
Yeah.
you're a pretty smooth talker. You always have been, and so I assume that you knew what you were doing. But you were trying to get people off your back, and so you can get back to drinking. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's I'd been around again. My first time in an AA meeting was 14, so I knew all the lingo. I knew, I heard a lot of the same stories, or I heard a lot of the same things, and I knew what to say to get people off my back. It was almost like I was a con artist for sure. I was very selfish. Self came first, and the needs and the wants that I had were paramount to anything else. So anything I can say to get people away from me being able to do that stuff, then and I figured out a way to con them, or just get them off my back, or say the right things for sure. I quickly learned how to do that so I could continue drinking.
So, was there a time when you felt like you knew you were an alcoholic and needed to do something about it, but you put it off for a while, or how did that realization come about?
Yeah. Again, I think as a teenager, I don't think I had those feelings, but I think after I moved out on my own, and the drinking, everything always seemed to increase, right? It wasn't just drinking. I was trying other stuff, and got to the point where, God, I can't hold a job. I'm having trouble paying rent. I ended up having to move out because I couldn't afford the place anymore. um, Early 20s is really where I started to be like, okay, maybe now I am one of those ones that they talk about in the rooms. I'm not just a young kid having fun. So it wasn't long into my drinking career where I realized, hey, maybe I am an alcoholic.
Um, One of the things that's sort of fascinating to me is the fact that you were a good talker. You could say the lingo. You could make people believe you were genuine in what you were saying. And oddly enough, that skill has come in pretty handy for you in the job you got now, right?
Yeah, it has. No, for sure. I think yeah, that's a skill that's is great to have when you're in sales and you talk to people for a living, right? I mean, now with my job, I talk to CEOs of companies and vice presidents, and just being able to um, shoot the shit, so to speak.
Yeah.
I can do that pretty easily. So it's made me successful. So I think at one point it was a negative, and I turned it into a positive. So.
Wow, that part's amazing to me. I don't want to ask you to divulge numbers or anything, but talk about how this has helped your career. I mean, in terms of your income, I know that you started out basically on a commission kind of basis, my understanding, and now you're making uh, pretty good bucks.
Yeah, no, really good. I mean, I'm making probably the same as a lot of these VPs and these senior vice presidents make at some pretty sizable companies. So, um, and I joined the right company to do that. I remember getting an offer from a company called Red Ventures in Charlotte. It was essentially a sales role, but I'm so glad I didn't take that position, because now I've gotten to the point where I'm part owner of this company. I've got an equity stake, and it was a smaller firm, and it's been a lot of fun helping us grow over the years. And I've been, promoted multiple times, and I've really built out my network to where I've got a solid foundation. I'm not going anywhere until we sell, and we're not selling anytime soon. So it's definitely given us the opportunity to take vacations, provide a life for my wife and son, and do fun things we don't have to worry about bills. It's a far stretch from the days of drinking and bouncing around on couches to now having some sort of financial security, for sure.
So, just curious, you mentioned your relapse about a year ago. How did that go over with your boss? I mean, this company you're so in love
Yeah,
with.
I mean, so he technically is my boss, but I think he's a friend first, which is I'm so grateful to have. I mean, so my boss and his father actually started. So his father started our parent company, which is a retained search firm, about 15 years ago, and David, his son, started this contingent side of the practice on. God, I was one of the original hires. I think he started at the end of 2014, and both of them friends and mentors first before the word boss. And when I relapsed, that he was one of the first calls that I had, and he was I don't think disappointed is the right word. I think it was from a place of love and care, and hey, what can I do to help? What do you need? Um, so there was utter support from both of them, and just I can't thank them enough for being there for me in that trying time. I not once did I worry about, hey, do I still have a job? It wasn't anything like that. It was just support, and hey, take the time that you need. What can we do to help? It was a really good feeling to have that type of support system going through something like that.
So, when I've talked to people who have become alcoholic or gone through the program or whatever, um, they say they were unaware that they were alcoholic for a long time. They were the last person to close up the shop, take other people home from drinking parties and that kind of stuff. They were functioning okay at work, but so how would you tell somebody like that to get real with themselves?
Um, you might have to repeat that a little bit. I apologize. You may have heard the dogs barking in the background. I had my son let them out. Last I heard was, how do you help somebody get real with themselves? Can you repeat that a little bit? I apologize.
No, I was talking about folks who are on the way to alcoholism. They're the last to close up the bar. They're the take the everybody home after they're drinking, and but yet they don't realize they have a drinking problem. So what would you say to them?
Yeah, it's one of the most difficult things is being honest with yourself. I had to take a real look at my own situation and be honest with myself. That's the biggest thing. Be honest with yourself. You'll have a lot of folks in your life probably that say, hey, you've got a problem. Hey, you need to change some stuff. You've got to be honest with yourself. That's the first thing. Like, you can lie to everybody else, but you know when you're lying to yourself, right? Um, that's the biggest thing. You've got to take that step. And again, I think somebody hitting rock bottom, take an honest look at your life, your situation. Are you happy? Does drinking, is it a priority? Is it your number one thing in life right now? Be honest with yourself. Um, you've got to look at that. You're not hurting anybody else but yourself. When you're lying to everybody else, you may hurt them, but you're hurting yourself more. That's the first thing. Nobody can make that decision but you. So taking an honest inventory of yourself and where you're at, and do you feel empty inside? That was a big thing for me. There was this emptiness inside that it was hard to put a finger on. It was, the spiritual emptiness is what I figured out it was. And that was something that once I realized that I had to take action, because I knew that's not who I was. That's not what I deserved in life. That's not what I wanted in life. And I had to get honest with myself first.
Wow, what a story. Dylan, thank you so much for your bravery and your compassion and talking about your own situation. And I hope that some people will hear this, read this, watch this, that may take a look at themselves and do exactly what you said, because it is something that we all have to do our individual work on. Thanks again for your time here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm Jerry Hancock from Men in Balance.